Movies summarized here. Today, I will be recapping a fantasy and mystery film. Spoilers ahead. The movie starts out with a family having dinner. When they are saying their grace, their house starts to vibrate, and the lights go out. Something crashes, breaking their window, and the screen goes black. When the woman wakes up, she finds her husband comforting their injured daughter, and they find the other rocking back and forth herself behind a table. When they look outside, they see a burning light outside. They say it could be a terrorist attack, but the husband says it couldn't be. They hear creaking. Rob says to step back and that the air is toxic. Soon after, one of the girls gets a nosebleed and starts to cough up blood. Rob starts to choke shortly after and dies. As the girl steps back, the woman gets the same symptoms and dies shortly after too. The other girl goes upstairs and hides in a cabinet. The year is 2030. Climate change is heavily affecting the planet. 2018, 17 and 16 are set to be the hottest years up to date. It cuts to the news saying an explosion has hit a town of 1,500 people and everyone has dropped dead, and that the air is highly toxic around there. It switches to a woman named Lauren who works for NASA being carried out by national security. When they reach there, they say that what hit the town was a small meteorite, but it dissolved into the soil, so they ask Lauren and a man named Michael to go there and find vital information. When they reach there, Lauren finds a seedling growing, although the air is toxic and nothing in the area should be able to survive. Later, when Lauren is home, she zooms in on the picture she took of the seedling. She Googles the recent meteorite event, finding a video from 4 months ago of a meteorite going across. She goes into the comments finding a link to a video. The woman in the video says a part of the town was barricaded because a meteorite hit and toxic chemicals were released, and says that after the explosion some tree grew out a seed, and after everything died, but the tree gone since they destroyed it. The video then starts to question what Russia is hiding, and mentions after the interview the woman was shot dead. Lauren searches the woman who was interviewed, confirming the information. Later, when two surgeons are about to dissect a dead body, they comment saying his skin looks too normal. When they are cutting his body, instead of blood, a black liquid starts to come out of his body, but soon after it goes back in his body. He starts to heal like time is reversing, and the man gets up. They introduce themselves asking if he can blink or move, but he stays stagnant staring at the ground. The surgeon reluctantly checks his pulse, but it is revealed he has no pulse, his body is cold, and he has no blood pressure. The nurse explains what happens to him saying there was an explosion. The sound of something heavy moving attracts them into a room, where they find multiple dead bodies standing staring towards the door. The news gets out to the public where some people suspect religious reasons, whilst others try looking for scientific explanations. In a lab, they show multiple pictures of the dead body's family, and themselves, to see if they would respond. The governor asks why 49 out of 1,300 of the townspeople rose from the dead. A scientist theorizes the persons who rose from the dead was close to the explosion, and they not only breathed in the toxic air but also swallowed fractions of the meteorite, which also transformed their internal organs. The body moves slightly to the right. The scientist points out that they also face one particular direction frequently, outside. Lauren talks to the colonel, saying what's happening is a repeated event, and it happened in 2013 in Russia. The colonel says he already knows, but she goes on to say the people died from similar symptoms and she thinks the Russians are hiding something, but they are also victims, and she thinks they are targeted. He mocks her, saying it's an interesting theory she found online. She says she knows how it sounds, but he just says good and walks away. Later, they are back at the lab, testing for consciousness by bringing a partner of one of the dead bodies and showing him their baby, but he doesn't respond. Later, Lauren goes in the room, filled with the lifeless bodies. She shows a young child her favorite book from when she was a child, saying her dead mother used to read it to her, saying she didn't cry at her funeral, which isn't normal, and comments saying the child is a good listener. She is desperate for some form of information from them. Her phone starts to ring, but she ignores it, showing the seedling as her phone screen. The child grabs on her hand, scaring her. They all face towards the seedling on the phone. Lauren suggests to carry them to the seedling, but the colonel denies, saying they don't know what they're capable of. The scientist then points out that they all are facing north, and if they go further north, they will find Badger, and something could be there. They then hear on breaking news that something in the toxic area has grown to an enormous size, that even made its own atmosphere, and it has gotten to that size in 2 days, since Lauren and Michael was there 2 days ago but didn't see it. In the end, they decide to go to the plant with one of the dead victims. When they reach there, The seedling has grown to enormous heights above the clouds. They place the victim in front of the plant to see if anything happens. They even bet $40 that he wouldn't move. Desperate, Lauren pleads for him to move. In the end, he lets out a sigh, and opens his eyes, and looks at his hands looking surprised. He speaks saying, "I cannot go back you. I will not survive your environment." Later Lauren tells a group of people that they cannot survive Earth's environment, and can only live near the plant's atmosphere. Later Lauren is getting ready to see the body from earlier at the plant, and the colonel says it doesn't want to talk to anyone but her. He reassures her saying it is not human and to be careful. When she is there, the alien says the reason for coming to Earth was because their planet was not habitable anymore, and for some reason the plant only grows on Earth. He says he also received the coordinates to Earth from a person who made contact with them named Supernova 94. And they all know their strengths and weaknesses. The alien looks in the distance, seeing two men in hazmat suits investigating the plant. The alien tells Lauren to tell them to leave, but she says she can't do that because the plant is harming their environment, but he responds saying they will just change their environment and there is no stopping them. When a man is returning from the plant, he slowly stops while staring at the alien. He starts trembling, and starts to slowly unzip his hazmat suit, so everyone tries to stop him. While he struggles, he manages to take off a Mont's filter, and he dies. While they are waiting for a command to shoot the alien, they hear a high frequency loud enough to make them fall to the ground, so they take off their masks, and they start to fight and kill each other. Eventually all of them start to cough out blood and die, and the last person alive shoots himself. In the end the alien left Lauren alive. Later they try to shoot missiles at the alien themselves, but when they try to shoot it doesn't work, and mists start to obscure their view, so they send real-life pilots in jets to fire more missiles, but a force field around the area stops the missiles from touching the plant or the alien. It switches to a man listening to the radio, saying that Supernova 94 is a terrorist and needs to be arrested, but someone argues saying he should be arrested because an average Joe was able to find extraterrestrial life while the government hasn't, and he needs a Nobel Prize. The man goes in a room looking at a book. When he opens it he finds bold writing saying Supernova 94 inside. The next day on the news, people are saying they are hearing weird echoes from the woods. Smoke is also appearing out of nowhere and killing people. Crops and plants are dying and getting rotten, and the ground is also vibrating. While the person is recording, the dog starts barking, and run into the woods. The woman takes a while to actually chase the dog, but she eventually does. As she goes further in the woods she hears the crack of a twig, and whimpering. Following the sound she looks into the distance. It switches to Lauren, admiring a lab her father built for her when she was a child. With her father being inside his house, as she is walking further, she says she feels relieved although the world is ending, and she feels she is being put out of her misery. When she reaches the alien, she notices the plant looks different. The alien says she is going through a process. The ground suddenly starts to shake with the alien saying it's time. Lauren slowly falls to the ground with deep echoes coming from the plant. The aliens say that Lauren caused all of this, saying she was involved in an incident. She grabs his hand. A flashback is shown of her in a car and her dad saying they are going somewhere secret and she isn't supposed to tell anyone. The driver talks about something being killed in the morning and spotting a UFO. When they reach to Area 51, Lauren father tells her to wait there, but she ends up following them and eavesdropping. They talk about a highly strong and intelligent being killed when it was planting a seedling. Lauren goes inside finding a container with a creature inside. She places her hand on the container, and the alien touches the container as well. They find her on the ground Uncan's house guiding her outside. Later Lauren parents is wary as they notice she built a blueprint for a rocket while still being 8 years old. At school she tells the teachers she is an alien and wants to go home. Later she talks in a radio, saying she is Supernova 94 and if they can hear her. The parents look on the wall finding weird signs written all over. Her parents get more concerned with what she is doing, thinking she is talking to some stranger and bans her from the shed. Later her mother scolds her for painting on the walls, even though she said not to multiple times. Lauren then tells her mother that she will die the most horrible death. Next Lauren is at her mother's funeral, emotionless. Lauren is seen sobbing. The alien approaches her, taking off her mask saying welcome home. It is revealed Lauren can even breathe in the current atmosphere, and she continues to cry. Lauren talking on the radio. giving information about Earth like the current state of the atmosphere and its components. The message even reaches to the CIA. The woman from earlier stares at an egg-shaped object on the ground. On the news it is said the object is appearing all over the globe, and it's revealed the noises from earlier was coming from them. Black smoke then starts exploding from them. And on the news it says the black smoke is going through towns killing everyone. It shows multiple people running and dying from a smoke. And a video of a woman saying it's been 6 months since she has been on her last oxygen tank. In the background Laura says her journey has ended, and she is finally home showing wings spreading in the background.